The goal of the Nebraska On-Farm Research Network is to provide a statewide on-farm research program that addresses critical farmer production, profitability, and natural resources questions. We spoke with Keith Glewen about the benefits of the network, but first we asked about the recent and fairly new Soybean Management Field Day research updates held at 4 locations in Nebraska.
Well, as many of your listeners know, each year we conduct Soybean Management Field Days during the month of August, have done that since 1999, and thanks to the Nebraska Soybean Board for funding that educational program. We've touched many counties in Nebraska where soybeans are grown, and just 2 years ago it seemed logical, the light came on if you would, that since we're planning demonstration plots at these field day sites, why not spend a little more time and effort and plant replicated research plots. So last year, 2011, as well as 2012, we planted replicated research plots encompassing 7 different topics, from cultural practices to disease management to weed management and growth enhancement products we evaluated. So another light bulb went on this past year, and it was, let's go back to those locations in the winter months and share the results and create a environment of discussion with the producers relating to those topics. And we did. We were in O'Neill and Lexington, David City, as well as Columbus. And we had a really good turnout, and we had a lot of good discussion. And I haven't looked at the evaluation report, but just glancing through evaluations, we had a lot of positive comments, Jeff.
A rock star tour of sorts through the state.
There you go.
Any surprising results that you saw from your research?
Well, one thing that sort of caught my eye was...
and obviously this is a different year. This is kind of a unique year for Nebraska.
Yes, it was, and that's, I'm guessing that's probably why this occurred, but our low populations, which we intended on in one of the studies, really didn't perform any worse than the higher populations or the recommended rates. But again, 2012, if you look at a bell curve of yields or years, we were way on the left side of that curve, and low humidities, a lot of solar irradiation, and that maybe had an influence on not adverse effects on yield when it came to low populations. Next year will probably be different. Let's hope it is.
Yeah, let's hope it is. So let's talk about the Nebraska On-Farm Research Network. You had some presentations in the state last week about that. Tell me, first of all, what it is for people who aren't familiar with it.
Certainly. For a number of years, the University of Nebraska Extension has been engaged in working with farm operators in conducting on-farm research. And I should say not only farm operators, but we've had crop consultants and industry professionals that have partnered with us as well. And back in the late 80s, early 90s, the Soybean Board funded a pilot project in Saunders County to look at the effectiveness of information transfer with working with farmers and conducting on-farm research. And Brad Lubin, one of our faculty members, was the graduate student for that project. Can you believe that?
Don't name drop with me, Keith.
Okay.
Don't try it.
But so we had a project going on in the eastern part of the state, and then back in the late 90s, some of the educators in the York County, Fillmore County, Clay County area got together and they started an effort. And just last year, the corn growers approached us, Nebraska Corn Growers Association, and asked us if we would be interested in spreading this effort across the state. So thanks to the funding of the corn growers as well as the Corn Board, we were able to put the groups that we have in Nebraska in Extension working with on-farm research together under one umbrella entitled Nebraska On-Farm Research Network. And what we do is work with farmers to identify and to develop and implement an on-farm research protocol or comparison on their fields using their equipment with their resources.
And how can you, I'll ask you a two-part question. How can you, one, get involved, and then two, how can you benefit from the research?
Let me answer the second question first. Over the years, farmers, well, let's say it, okay, farmers are going to conduct research whether you want them to or not. and it's, how do you define research? Research is, I'm going to take what I'm currently doing and compare it to something new and different that I've heard about or somebody has suggested I try.
Sure.
And whether they do it under a formal umbrella like we've developed, they're going to do it. They're going to make comparisons. But however, we have a saying, and that is, it's what you think you know that you really don't know that can really hurt you when it comes to production agriculture. And today's production agriculture is big money. And so if you make a decision based on wrong information, it could cost you thousands and thousands of dollars. So what we want to do is work with growers so that if they're conducting on-farm research, they're doing it correctly. They're setting it up correctly. And to divide a field in half and put treatment A on one side of the field and treatment B on the other isn't the right way to do it, because there's a lot of variability that exists in a field, from nutrients to moisture, topography, soil texture, and that can all influence yield. And so what we do is we sit down with the growers, talk about what do you feel is important in terms of profitability in your operation when it comes to growing corn and soybeans, for example, or wheat. And can we identify those topics, and can we do on-farm research to see if something is better than what you've been doing? And farmers tell us that we appreciate the research you're doing at the research and extension centers and at the university in general, but you know, my farm's unique. It's different. I have different soils, I have different equipment, whatever. And I'm always interested in taking what you are proclaiming from the laboratory to see if it'll work in my farm. So we sit down with the growers and we identify that question or that problem, and then we put together a plan on how to make those on-farm comparisons.
How have people benefited from in the past? You know?
Yes, we've evaluated the group over the years, and just quickly it equated to approximately $7,000 per operation. They felt the benefit was, and that was a number of years ago. So with today's economies, it's probably a lot more than that, Jeff.